Good morning. This is Mrs. Lonjway, and today I'll be reading chapter 14. One dull, rainy day at the beginning of November, Ishan Khan called Iqbal and me into his personal office. We entered the small, whitewashed room, which was almost empty and very neat. It stood in complete contrast to the rest of the house, which was full of papers, signs, color, and confusion. Here was a desk under neat piles of paper, a telephone, a chair that didn't look very comfortable, makings for tea, and a strong smell of tobacco. Ishan Khan was walking impatiently back and forth, his eyes shining. He was holding a big, brightly colored ball. We had already seen it a few times, and we thought, oh no, another geography lesson. Ishan Khan spun the ball and showed us a big area colored yellow. This is the United States, he said. It is a big and important country. I know, said Iqbal, hoping to avoid a lesson. It's the place where they make the songs. Where there's Hollywood and the movie stars, I said to help him. Ignoring our show of knowledge of American culture, Ishan Khan pointed to a small black spot on the edge of an enormous sea. This city is Boston, he continued. Every year, a company called Reebok awards a prize that's called Youth in Action. It's given to a young person who has done something of merit in any country in the world. I know Reebok, insisted Iqbal. They make shoes. I've wanted a pair for months, but they're too expensive. The prize is $15,000. How many rupees is that? I asked. More than we can imagine. This year, the prize has been awarded to Iqbal. Silence. To me? Iqbal asked, confused. Yes, and do you know what it means? It means that now you're known all over the world, and so is our fight against child labor. It means that from now on, they will have to be careful before they try to touch us in any way. It's a victory, Iqbal, and it's all thanks to you. You and I will go to Boston to receive the prize. But first, Ishan Khan turned to the globe. We'll stop here. He pointed to another country. This is Sweden, he said. And what's that? A country where it's very cold. It's in Europe. There's going to be an international conference on labor problems. People will be coming from all over the world. They want to hear you speak. Me? We were astonished. It was like a dream. It was difficult for us to believe that others in that faraway and unknown place called the world knew about us and our suffering. We were nobodies, wretches who just a year before had been working at our looms, some of us chained to them. And all those people wanted to listen to Iqbal. There's more, said Ishan Khan. A university near Boston has given you a scholarship. It means you'll be able to get a degree. Didn't you say you want to become a lawyer? Iqbal nodded without speaking. But that means we'll have to go. We'll be away almost a month, said Ishan Khan. Just wait. You'll like traveling. You'll see so many new things. When we get back, you'll begin your studies. And later on, you can go visit your family. You must be happy. I am happy, answered Iqbal. But I want to stay here, with you and Fatima and Maria. I want to free more children. You'll still be helping us. You're important. But later on, if you become a good lawyer, you'll be even more useful. Today, there's good news for Fatima, too. We found your village and your family. You'll be going home. My heart jumped. Home. I could hardly remember it. And my mother? And my brothers and sisters? Suddenly I wanted to cry, but I felt silly. Why should I want to cry at good news? I was about to return home, free. Iqbal was going to receive a rightful reward for what he had done. Everything was going well. Whoever could have foreseen all this when we were working like slaves for Hussein? I did cry, and it was because I was so happy. The next 2 weeks just flew by. The big pink house boiled over with activity, everyone running from one end to the other, getting things ready for the journey. Reporters from Pakistan and abroad wanted to know about the prize. The garden was always full of people. For me, every sunset held sadness and hope. How much longer before Iqbal left? 9 days. I have memories of Ishan Khan talking into 3 microphones, of a stranger wandering around, taking photos of all of us. I should have made him give me one. At least I'd have that now. I remember the women kneeling with pins in their mouths, fitting the Western-style suit that Iqbal would wear at the ceremony. It had a jacket, trousers, and a vest, all in a heavy dark blue material. It would be cold where he was going. One day I came upon Iqbal all alone in the middle of an empty room while he was practicing the speech he would give in Sweden and in Boston. He tripped over every sixth word and then said, "Come on, Fatima, help me." So I took the written speech and, reading a little slowly, gave him the right cues. Every day in Pakistan, 7 million children get up in the dark before dawn. They work all day through evening. They make rugs, they make bricks, they work the fields, they go down into the mines. They don't play or run or shout. They never laugh. They're slaves and they wear chains on their feet. So long as there's a child in this world who is deprived of his childhood, a child who is beaten, violated, or exploited, nobody can say, "It's not my business." That's not true. It's your business too. And it's not true that there's no hope. Look at me. I had hope. You, ladies and gentlemen, you must have courage. How much longer before he left? 6 days. In a rare afternoon of quiet, Ishan Khan's wife took me in her arms and said, "Poor little girl." Then she explained that my mother was dead, and that now my brother Ahmed was the head of the family. He was impatient to see me, because he had plans to go far away, to try his luck in Europe. He wanted to take me and my little brother Hassam with him. I was going to my family after Iqbal's departure. Maria promised to keep me informed about everything that went on. Before I left for a foreign country, I'd come back to headquarters to say goodbye. The last night Iqbal and I were together, we got up and met in the big room, where we talked and talked, just as we used to in Hussein's workshop. At dawn the next day, they let me ride in the car with Iqbal and Ishan Khan to the airport. Iqbal and I sat in back. From a terrace, I watched them board the plane. They waved from so far away. With a loud roar, the plane took off and flew higher and higher through the sky. Iqbal had taken the biggest kite. My heart was beating very fast. Something was wringing my heart and soul. The plane disappeared beyond the horizon. I wonder what America's like, I thought. A few days later, I was taken home. I can still remember the long journey in the Toyota van as it bumped over all the holes in the road. I can remember the countryside, part green, part gray and flooded. I can remember the working men and the beasts. I remember the muddy dirt roads. Every time I saw a group of huts, I thought, is this my village? I couldn't trust my memory, and I was confused. The driver was kind and pleasant. He talked and talked to distract me, as though he knew what I was feeling. Part of me wanted to go home, part of me was sorry. We arrived. My brother Ahmed was now a man. Hassam, the youngest, was taller than me. Slowly, gradually, I began to recognize objects that were once familiar to me. I found my way to the well instinctively. I had gone there so many times in the past, trying to balance a jug on my head. Even the buffalo looked the same, only a little older. I cleaned, I cooked, I helped in the fields, just like my mother had done. I didn't know anything about my brother's plans, and I wasn't interested. The days and weeks passed. In the country, they seemed much longer. I finally received a letter from Maria. I ran to read it outside. She wrote, "Here everything's going well. She said that Ishan Khan had telephoned, once from Sweden, twice from America. Maria had spoken to Iqbal, who was fine. He told her all about the speech he had given in a big city called Stockholm. He hadn't tripped up once. In fact, all those well-dressed people had stood up and applauded him. They had welcomed him warmly in America, too. In Boston, everybody wanted to meet him, and when they gave him his prize, some ladies cried. The only thing he complained about was his new shoes. They hurt his feet. He sent his love to me. They were about to return. School would resume, and later on, Iqbal would go to visit his family for Easter. He hoped I was well and wanted to know what my village was like. She would write again. Kisses, Maria. There was a folded article from an American newspaper in the envelope. Naturally, I couldn't read it, but in several places I could see the name Iqbal, and there was also a photograph of him. I looked at it for a long time, even if it was dark and smudgy. Time passed. With a piece of chalk, I made marks on the wall in a corner to keep count. 2 weeks, a month, 3, then 4. Winter passed and the spring rains began. I stopped counting. The lame man who came to distribute and collect mail every 10 days wasn't to be seen. We'll be leaving soon, my brother Ahmed said. When I finished my work, I would sit in the doorway and look out toward the path that led to the village. They've forgotten me, I thought. My mind went back to the kites, to Iqbal standing next to the carpet he had cut, to the night we crawled to the tomb to help him, to the afternoon in Lahore when we went to the movies. I thought that I didn't want to go to a foreign country, far away and ugly. 2 days before we were supposed to leave for Europe, I saw the lame man in the distance. He was struggling along the muddy paths. His bag was slung on his shoulder, and his stick sank 5 inches into the mud at each step. The light was ugly that day, livid and nasty. The clouds lay low on the horizon, and everything looked spotted and black. I watched him for half an hour as he came along so very slowly. Before he reached me with the letter, my eyes had started crying.